All right, let's talk about Tyler Shough and what he was able to do here for the Saints. Some good stuff, some not so good stuff. I don't need to ramble too long. Let's just get into the film. Let's start off with this play. So this is going to be, again, a simple play that we've seen Shough do a very good job of, I feel like, so far in the preseason. We saw him do a good job of this, in college, of just running the offense, zone coverage concept. You see a couple of routes that could work here on a second down and 7. A lot of times you will see teams try and just get the first down here, but what they're going to go for is something a little bit easier. Let's see if we can gain 4 or 5 yards, and who knows, maybe our receiver can fall forward and pick up the first down that way. If not, it's still a third and short. Shough is going to start this off by looking towards the bottom of the screen, and you see that's just not open, well covered by the Jacksonville Jaguars defenders. So, okay, well, don't just hang on a read. That doesn't seem to be doing too much. You want to move off to your second read. But again, young quarterbacks, this is probably the one thing that they struggled the most with, is getting to that next read. And I know he's not as young as most rookie quarterbacks are. I get it. He's going to be 26 soon, right? So that's different. But still, he is used to playing college. He's now playing NFL games. It's something you have to get used to. However, he does very quickly get over to that next read. You now do see that there is a player who's open. And again, as of right now, he is trying to win the starting job, but you're trying to show that you can just belong in the NFL. He's going to get an opportunity, you would assume, whether it's just the preseason or, more regular season. You're going to assume he's going to get some opportunities. He wants to show this year that he belongs in the NFL, right? At the very least, that way you can hopefully, after your rookie contract, get a second contract. This is how you can do it. Running the offense effectively. Watch him get the ball over there. They are able to pick up a completion on that play. So yeah, again, this is nothing crazy, but these things matter. People kind of gloss over this stuff, but legitimately, again, if you watch a lot of fourth quarter preseason tape, you can see a lot of quarterbacks not doing this stuff. Seeing Shough be able to do it, it is the first step. Also, the Saints had some protection issues here, so we'll show a couple. I don't really need to break down the play before it happens too much. We can just get into it. Shough takes the snap, and you're going to see very quickly. So there was a play action. You have a player who's coming off the edge. The guard was supposed to pick him up, but a little bit late in doing that, and give the Jacksonville Jaguars player credit for moving in quickly. There is going to be pressure now, and what do you do in this situation? Well, you want to ideally step up in the pocket in this spot. Shough was a touch slow in getting over there. It was a tough play. Ultimately slips and falls. That's never what you want. It is better to do that than put the ball in harm's way or something, that's good, but taking a sack isn't the end of the world. But that didn't even really look like he intentionally took the sack, just he stumbled. So not that play is definitely not on him, but definitely not a great Saints play. This next one, I think you could argue, is a bit on him. So this is a 2nd and 18 now. So again, things not exactly going the way you want them to go. Shough takes the snap. The Jaguars are defending anything down the field. You do have a couple of checkdowns that you could throw towards. Obviously, you don't really want to do that, because if you're only going to gain 3 or 4 yards, then you've essentially just punted already. So you want something more than that, but ultimately it's still worth a check down. Maybe you can get a broken tackle and gain more than that, right? But again, he's looking down the field. Pressure's going to kind of come quickly, so I don't really blame him too much for this. Watch how, it really gets there in a hurry. So this is, again, not really his fault. Some protection issues. You're doing what you can. I will say, the fact that he's in this position isn't really his fault, but what he's going to do from here kind of is. You already decided that you weren't going to throw the ball to a receiver. I'm assuming he's just going to get a little bit confused into exactly what's happening, because watch him just throw it to one of his offensive linemen. I'm not sure if he thought that was a running back or just panicked in the moment. Whatever happened, not ideal there by Tyler Shough. And the real thing is, whatever, you get the penalty. A sack versus penalty in that spot isn't that big of a deal. And in fact, it is what it is. But the reason why I would look at this as a negative is once you have multiple defenders on you, you got to just take the sack at that point, because trying to get rid of the ball, if you can't pull it off, which here he wasn't going to get an incompletion at that point, only bad things can happen. You could potentially get a turnover. It's just too dangerous. It's not the right play there. Also, this next one, so this is going to be a 3rd down and 5. Definitely want to see what can work on these types of plays. You have a receiver running a route that definitely could get open, kind of outside the numbers, not starting off outside the numbers, but eventually getting there. And, You don't have to go down to field on a 3rd and 5, but ultimately, a lot of times teams feel like, hey, it's not that much easier against man coverage to convert a short pass, so might as well go for a deeper one, right? And these are important plays in NFL games, so let's see what happens. Shough is going to take the snap right here, and at this point, throws it down the field. And I'm going to say, like, this is where preseason can get tricky, or just honestly, evaluations in general can get tricky. This could easily be considered a miscommunication just as much as a missed throw. The throw is a bit too far, just outside of, the receiver's hands there, but maybe it's totally possible Shough just thought he was going to cut a little bit later and be a little bit further down the field. Again, we only see it once he enters frame. Shough has to make this throw a lot earlier, so you're kind of trying to time that out perfectly. Either way, not quite getting the connection, and you want to get that connection. Like I said, if the goal is to show you can belong in the NFL, getting those connections down is a great way to do it. Not getting it done on this one. We then saw a really nice drive. It ended up getting stopped due to a dropped pass, but on a 3rd down. But started off not a great drive. A penalty here, so not a great start to the drive. Penalty puts them to 1st and 20. They do have a tight end who's running the route you see on your screen against zone. That's where Shough is going to look. And watch how when he makes this throw, runs a play action to try and get the linebackers out of position. And you see right here, well, at first glance, this doesn't look like a good throw, right? There's zero separation. I mean, it looks like they're making contact with each other right here. So definitely that's not ideal, but here's why Shough made this throw. Remember, they did a play action. Linebacker had to step in a little bit. Then he has to turn his back away from the quarterback and run straight to the tight end he's trying to cover. He doesn't know where the ball is. He can't play the ball. Meanwhile, the tight end is looking back to the ball. He can make a play on the ball. That's why you make this throw. It's also an accurate throw and a heck of a catch as well. And on 1st and 20, you needed some yards there, right? You could try and get 7 yards each play, but that's difficult. Getting it all on the first play is actually a lot easier sometimes. So really good play there by Shough to, dig themselves out of that hole very early on. Also, this next one on a 3rd down and 4, you have a receiver who's going to be running from the offense's left to the offense's right on this play. So, okay, man coverage, cover 1 blitz, sure, let's see what happens. Shough takes the snap, and you're going to see it's Rashid Shaheed who is running this route, and it's working, right? I mean, this is an open play, but you want to make sure you get the 1st down, right? Completion kind of has to happen at this point, but you got to make sure you get the 1st down on this 3rd and 4, so you got to place it in an area where Shaheed can make the catch and continue running after the catch. And as you see, Shough does exactly that. So again, these running the offense effectively, right? That's what you want to see out of a rookie quarterback, and that's what he's doing. So yeah, like all in all, again, not the most impressive performance or anything like that. Not a disaster either. I do think that if you threw him in a game, he wouldn't be a mess. Definitely some things you still need to work on, though. So yeah, that's kind of how I viewed all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.